Right. In this lesson, we are going to do revision of what the things that you covered in grade 8. We are going to look at area and perimeter of squares, rectangles, triangles, and circles. So, for a square, the perimeter is going to be all the sides, the sum of all the sides. Since all the sides are equal, we say perimeter of a square will be 4 times s. And the area, which is s times s, will be equals to s squared. And then for a rectangle, remember the longer side is called the length and the shorter sides are called the width. So the perimeter is going to be sum of all the sides, length times width times length times width. In short, we write 2 times length plus 2 times width. And the area will be length times width. With triangles, you just have to identify your height and the side that is perpendicular to that height, which we will call the base. So area of a triangle will be half base times height. So the perimeter, you just add up all the sides. Remember, perimeter is the distance right round the shape. So the only thing that you need to be able to know how to calculate, which can be a bit challenging, is the area. Remember, area of a triangle is always half times the base times the perpendicular height. So the perpendicular height is always that height which is perpendicular to the base. The distance from the base to the apex or to the point where the other two sides meet. And then we've got a circle, and a circle has got different parts. So let's look at this one. So you will see that when we look at a circle has got different parts. It has got a circumference, which is the outer circle. It's called the circumference, which is the distance right around the circle. And then the center point, or that point in the middle of the circle, we call it the center. And the distance from the center to the circumference is the radius. And the distance from one part, a straight line which is passing through the center from one side of the circumference to the other, we call it the diameter. In the smaller part of the circle, we call it the sector. Like this one here, we call it the sector, and half a circle, we call it a semicircle. So the perimeter of a circle can be calculated by saying 2 pi r squared, or pi multiplied by d. And the area of a circle can be calculated by saying pi r squared, or pi open bracket d all over 2 squared. And a semicircle, we can calculate the semicircle, remember, is half a circle. We can calculate the perimeter of a circle by adding the distance of the semicircle and the distance of the diameter, which is 2 times r. Remember, diameter is 2 times the radius. So the perimeter can be calculated by saying pi r, which is 2 pi half of 2 pi r, which is basically pi r, right, plus 2 times the radius, right? So we can also calculate the perimeter is half, or we can say pi d divided by 2 plus the diameter, which is another formula, right? Moving on, the area of a semicircle becomes half that of a circle, which is half of pi r squared. And then if we divide a circle into 4 equal parts, what results is that we have a quarter circle. If we take one of the pieces, we call that a quarter circle. So a quarter circle, the perimeter is going to be the distance of the arc, which is going to be a quarter of pi r plus 2 pi. Or we can say it's going to be pi d divided by 4 plus 2 times r, which is radius, and radius, remember, the distance right round a circle. And the area is a quarter of pi r squared, right? Now, moving on. So now we've done that. Let's look at compound shape. So a compound shape is a shape that we get when we combine two shapes, two or more shapes. Like in this case, you can see we've got this shape here. We call it a compound shape, where we put together a rectangle and a semicircle to come up with that shape. So the perimeter of such a shape can be calculated by saying perimeter will be equals to distance AB plus the arc BC plus CD plus the side AD. So AB is 2, BC we use the formula, which is half of pi d, plus half of pi d, which will be equals to the same as saying half of pi multiplied by 4, which is the side, the diameter, remember, plus, which will give us 2 pi. And then CD will be equals to 2. So now we add. If we add those sides, so CD will be equals to 2, and then AD will be equals to 4. So now to find the perimeter, we can add up those sides, which will be going to be 2 multiplied by 2 pi plus 2 plus 4, which gives you 8 plus 2 pi. So now the perimeter will be 14.28 units, which is to 2 decimal places. Now to calculate area, we will draw a line and divide the shapes into 2 separate shapes. So we have the rectangle and the semicircle. So the area of such a compound shape is going to be area of the rectangle plus the area of the semicircle. So now we can use the formulas, which we know here is going to be length times width plus the area of the semicircle, which is half pi r squared. So this will give us 2 times 4 times, which is length times width, and then which is half pi r squared. Remember, the radius is half the diameter, so the radius is 2, which gives us 8 plus 2 pi, which if we punch into a calculator, it gives us a figure of 14.2 square units, rounded off to 2 decimal places. Let's give another shape. Let's say you are given a fraction of a circle. So how do you know it's a fraction? You will be given the angle here, 30 degrees, and then they give you the radius, 5 centimeters. So the fraction of this circle is going to be, we say 30. What fraction is of a circle is this? Is 30 degrees divided by 360, which is a complete revolution, which will give you 1 all over 12. Right? So if you are calculating perimeter, it's going to be the fraction, which is 30 degrees all over 360, multiplied by the area of a full circle, or the semicircle, circumference of a semicircle, which is pi d. And then that you substitute the values in there, and then you punch into your calculator, correct it to 2 decimal places. It's going to be 2, so here, remember, you are not done with this formula, because remember, you need to add the radiuses. So the total circumference, so we can say the total perimeter of this shape is going to be 2,62 plus 5 times 2, which will give you 12,62 centimeters. And then the area of the shape is going to be, now we use 30 degrees multiplied by pi r squared. 30 degrees all over 360 multiplied by pi r squared, right? Which will be, where there's r, we put 5, and then our answer will be 6.54 square centimeters to 2 decimal places. So now it's your turn for you to do a practice, and there is a quiz available for the revision exercise in your books.